Hi, third grade. So it's time to start some social studies. And you just finished a big immigration project, and I was really pleased to see some of the pictures of your completed projects, and I'm excited to see some of them that you might have turned in to me as well at school, which I'm going to go up tomorrow and get all of your work. They're letting it sit for a while and make sure that everything's clean and ready to go. And then I'll be going up tomorrow to up to the school to take a look at some of the things that you turned in to me. Thank you to those of you who have been sending pictures. That helps me a lot to keep up on the work and also to be able to give you feedback and let you know how you're doing. If you need to redo something, if you messed up on something, I can give you a little help. So it's really, really helpful if you can communicate back and forth with me as we go along. So we're going to be working in our social studies book, and for the rest of the year, we're going to be focusing on the skills pages. Skills like reading maps, finding locations, looking at graphs, comparing graphs, timelines, all of those different kinds of organizers that we use, and we get information from them. So I'm going to go to page 120 in our textbook, and we're going to read and talk about these two graphs. One is a pictograph. It uses pictures, picto. The other is a bar graph. It uses bars. There are other types of graphs too. There are line graphs. There are pie graphs, where they take a circle and they cut it up into different size pieces. There are double bar graphs, double line graphs. So you'll learn more about graphs, but we're going to just read a couple of more simple graphs today. And up at the top it says why it matters. When you need to compare sets of numbers, it helps to look at a graph. Sometimes if you just get all these numbers, a big list of numbers, it's really hard to get any information out of that. So it's important to put those numbers into order and then to put them onto a graph. Graphs can present the same information in different ways. A pictograph or picture graph uses small pictures to show the number of items. A key explains what the pictures stand for. In the pictograph on the next page, each tornado symbol stands for 2 tornadoes. Oklahoma had 4 tornadoes in March. Well, if we look at Oklahoma in March, we see 1, 2, but each one stands for 2. So that's 2 tornadoes, 4 tornadoes. They had a lot of tornadoes in May. You wouldn't even have to, if you had just a whole bunch of numbers and the months next to it, you'd have to go through and count and see, well, how many were in May, and you'd have to sort them out. This is already done for you. You don't have to count them. You know that they had the most number of tornadoes in May. So pictographs and bar graphs can be very helpful to find information quickly. Let's go on. A bar graph uses bars to show amounts. On the bar graph, find the bar labeled March. Here it is. Move your finger up to the bar where it ends. The bar graph will give you the same information that the pictograph did. So we said there were 4 tornadoes in March. And if you look, it says 5 here, but the bar doesn't quite go up to the 5. So this shows 4. When you're looking at a graph, it's really important that you always look at the title. This is what it's showing us. Tornado season in Oklahoma. Both graphs are showing us. Then it's really important that you look at what we call the vertical axis. And here it's giving us the months that they track tornadoes. And it says tornado season. March, April, May, June, July, August. Down here, they have number of tornadoes, and they've numbered them counting by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20. Here's the key that tells what each tornado stands for. Down here, we have the bars, and it says tornado season. So we know that each bar stands for a different month, and we follow the lines to see how many in each month. So always take a look at your graph, see what it's showing you, what the title is telling you. How are we counting? Here we're counting by twos, here we're counting by fives. Now we're going to practice. Use the graphs to answer these questions. Which graph uses pictures to show tornadoes? That's pretty easy. The top graph, the pictograph. Which month had the most tornadoes? I can look at either one of these graphs and I can see that, ooh, that's the most, this one, and this blue line is the most. And if I follow that blue line, it says May. And if I follow the tornadoes, it says May. It's the same information shown in two ways. How many tornadoes did Oklahoma have in June? Let's see. If I look up here at June, and I know that each one of those stands for 2, I can count by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, now let's look at June here. I know it's more than 5 and less than 10. It's not quite as easy to read, is it? It's somewhere between 5 and 10. So maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's not quite as exact. Now, if we were counting by twos, it would be more exact. Can you tell which month had the least number of tornadoes? When I look at August, I see that they only had 2 tornadoes. But then I look at July. How many tornadoes did they have in July? It's kind of hard to decide. It's somewhere between 0 and 5. Well, if I look up here, and I know that 1 tornado is worth 2, then half of a tornado would be 1 more. So 2 tornadoes plus 1 more tornado, 3 tornadoes. So sometimes I'll use half or a part of a symbol. Now it's time to go to your workbook where we have our graphs. It says study the graphs below, then answer the questions on the next page. Listen carefully. A couple of people had sent in some information already, and we just need to kind of look at things a little more closely. The Iditarod, that's a sled dog race in Alaska. The Iditarod dog sled race takes place every year in Alaska. During the 1,150-mile race, teams deal with below freezing temperatures, winds so strong they cannot see, long hours of darkness, and steep climbs. The graphs show the low temperatures for a 1-week period on one part of the trail. So when I look at this, I see this says, pictograph of low temperatures for 1 week of the Iditarod. And they measured it by our days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Down here they gave us a key to tell us what each picture or symbol stands for. So the black circle is the number of degrees above 0. The dash line means that it was 0 degrees. It wasn't above and it wasn't below, it was 0. And the white circles are the number of degrees below 0. Those are really cold. Now we can see the same information here. The bar graph is showing low temperatures for 1 week of the Iditarod. They've listed the weeks down here and the temperatures over here. And if you look, you see that the temperatures are 10 degrees apart. So they're counting by tens. But they didn't start at the bottom with 0 because some temperatures were below 0. So they started at less than 20 degrees below. That's important to look at that. So now we're going to go to the next page and look at our questions. Which day had the warmest temperature? Well, it would be the highest bar or the one with the most number of degrees above 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This was 10 degrees above 0. There it says it right there, 10 degrees above 0. Number 2, what 3 days had a temperature of 0? Okay, you can look here and go across and find the 3 days that meet with the 0 line, or you can look for 3 days that have the 0 symbol. So you can look at the lines, the 0 line, or the 0 symbols, and write those 3 days down. During which day was the low temperature colder than -5? Now this gets a little bit confusing because they start to count backwards on the bar graph. So if it's less than 5 degrees, well, this is -5 because halfway between 0 and 10 would be 5. So anything lower than that would be your answer. But if you go up here, it says number of degrees below 0. During which day was the low temperature colder than -5? Colder than -5. This day it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 below because it says numbers below 0. This day, count how many degrees below. And then compare it and see if it sounds like the same thing here. So that's a little bit tricky. Stop this and start it again if you need to. What do Sunday and Friday have in common? I want to know what they have in common as far as temperatures. So someone might have said, oh, they both have dots, or they both have bars, or the bars are the same size. I want to know, what's the temperature on those 2 days? Sunday and Friday. It's something about the temperatures. Those are the only 2 days that the temperature was higher than or warmer than. Number 5, what was the coldest temperature recorded during that week? Well, the coldest would be this one or this one, right? We're going to count and see what the coldest is. So go ahead and fill in your answers. Okay, that's that for today. Please be sure to send me any work that you finish so that I can grade it and get your scores back to you and put it in my grade book. Have a good evening, and I'll read a little soldier doc in just a little bit.